have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
It's time to buckle up for making sense of the madness.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and apparently in less than 4.5 years, okay, not only are human beings going to the moon, but we're building nuclear power plants on the moon. Color me skeptical in every single regard. This, of course, is going along with this same mantra that the Muskernuts, Lord Elon, is somehow going to take humanity to Mars. Folks, there is so much cartoon level propaganda in all of this that we are specifically going to hit the logistics of what a mission to the moon would look like and then build permanent bases along with a nuclear power plant in less than half a decade on the moon. We're going to get into those logistics. And then we're going to show you what we've done prior as a species, okay, when it comes to actual space travel. Because, unfortunately, the vast majority of not only Americans, but people around the world have this aggrandized view of what actual space travel is because of TV and movies and popular culture and the talking points that have been put out time and time again. And people are just so detached from reality that they have no idea what NASA actually is and what SpaceX actually is. And they are not just extensions of the military-industrial complex, they are at the heart of the technology that is compartmentalized via that system, and it's being unleashed in a commercial and many times subversive fashion, if that makes sense to people, okay? And when I say commercial fashion, I mean these people, through DARPA and other black sites and programs, are dealing with tech that eventually does trickle out into the public, okay? In fact, I think, man, I don't know if I don't have that clip. I don't think that's part of the Transformers clip where I'll have a NASA official telling you that robots are going to be the first one to Mars, right? And quite frankly, the same thing could be said for the moon. Now, I'm also going to make some claims that are definitely speculative, but speculative based on the evidence that I have seen in regards to the moon and whether or not human beings have been there. Now, either in person or with other types of propulsion systems, and I would say, obviously, craft that are controlled by human beings remotely. Okay? And Jason, that just sounds wild. Well, again, we're going to present the evidence here because I don't break out my jump to conclusions, Matt. I listen to everything. I listen from the wackiest of the wacky, which is like the 20 years and back space program. I get it. Listen, I know the hacked files, and I know McKinnon, and I know the off-world officer story. I know all about that stuff. Okay? I get it. But so much of that has been exploited through Johnny nonsense, purposeful disinformation, misinformation. I would say fantasists, people looking to exploit these tales and the gullible. All that is in the mix. So we're going to break it down. We're going to start by playing this press conference where Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary and ex-reality TV star, I think it was The Real World he was on MTV back in the day, lets us know. I guess Politico had leaked this story. So, thumbs it up, subscribe, share, and folks, I need you now more than ever. $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. Big donors. Now is the time if you like what I do. You tell me where else you're going to get a breakdown like this. I don't think there is anywhere else. I hope that means some value. There are other links down below, including PayPal. Folks, let's start her off right here. NASA to put nuclear reactor on the moon by 2030. Now, again, Politico started this, and they rightfully so. They say U.S. media. Because I'm going to tell you right now that this feels like a talking point. It feels over the top ridiculous, and for a number of reasons that we're going to get into. But let's start it with the conference and the actual question right here. Like I said, let's get those thumbs up. Don't even have 50 yet, folks. Here we go.
Lauren Shank, Fox Business. I had a question on setting up a nuclear reactor on the moon. What challenges do you and the experts anticipate with that, and how critical is that we beat China in winning the second space race?
I mean, look at the FAA director next to him, just smile. The nuclear reactor on the moon. Here we go. I mean, it's a comedy show, folks.
I didn't think the moon was going to come up today. I wasn't prepared for that.
Well, you are the acting NASA administrator.
And it didn't come from Politico, so that's wonderful. Listen, so this is not a new concept. This has been discussed under Trump 1, under Biden, but we are in the race. We're in a race to the moon, in a race with China to the moon, and to have a base on the moon, we need energy. And some of the key locations on the moon, we're going to get solar power, but this fission technology is critically important. And so we've spent hundreds of $millions studying, can we do it? We are now going to move beyond studying, and we have given direction to go, let's start to deploy our technology to move to actually make this a reality. And I think the stat we have is it's a 100 kilowatt output. That's the same amount of energy a 2,000 square foot home uses every 3.5 days. So we're not talking about massive technology. We're not launching this live. That's obviously, if you have any questions about that, no, we're not launching it live. But again, energy is important. And if we're going to be able to sustain life on the moon to then go to Mars, this technology is critically important. And I would just note that we're behind, right? If we're going to engage in the race to the moon and the race to Mars, we have to get our act together. We have to marshal all of our resources, all of our focus on going to the moon, which is what we're going to do. And again, there's a lot of things that NASA does, and a lot of people love a lot of the things that NASA does. But this is about space exploration, and this is about this next phase. A lot of people don't know even what Artemis is. Everyone knew what Apollo was, We all knew, the whole world knew what Apollo was. We were going to the moon. Artemis says we're going back. So in the first part of next year, we are going to send Artemis 2 out. Met the 4 astronauts. They're fantastic. We're going to go out around the moon and come back. Artemis 3, we are going to go back to the moon. We're going to land. The longest time we spent in the past was 3 days. We're going to stay for 6 days. And then after that, we're able to start shipping our assets to the moon unmanned. And we'll have those assets there as our astronauts arrive and are able to build a base. But this is critically important. There's a certain part of the moon that everyone knows is the best. We have ice there. We have sunlight there. We want to get there first and claim that for America. And to do this is this part of the fission technology is critically important to sustain life, because solar won't do it, but it's just a lower amount of that fission technology that's going to allow human life to sustain.
So let's just break down what he said there, okay? Because I think it's really important. I think a lot of it is cartoon level. We're going to get to Artemis in a moment. Now, you notice he said at first, we're not launching it live. Do you know how ridiculous it would be to launch live an active nuclear power plant? The rockets they currently show us that launch things, okay, are massive in size and scope and propulsion compared to what actually goes up. Usually a capsule-like device that then comes down, okay? So obviously that's not what's going to happen. NASA does do a lot of things that people love, but they have no idea that NASA is involved in those things, period. They really don't. And I might demonstrate some of that with Dennis Bushnell at this 2011 Blue Tech Forum. But now we're going to take a look at what human beings, especially recently, have done in quote-unquote space. Because the moon, I mean, first of all, he's also talking about these bases being in a place where we're not going to be able to look at them, right? It's not going to be on the front side. It'll be on the dark side of the moon where the water is and apparently enough sunlight is. And, you know, that was not revealed right away to the public either, right? That there was even water on the moon. I think that we've been lied to a bunch about the moon, and we're going to get into that in a moment. And that's really what it comes down to. There has been such deception regarding NASA, space, the moon, etc., that I understand why people are super skeptical of all of it. But when it comes down to it, we are talking about black projects, the weaponization of space, okay, the use of other types of propulsion systems and craft, okay, period. So let's get into it. Last summer, Polaris Dawn went up, okay? This is 4 civilians embarking on a dangerous spacewalking mission. All right, now, what I want to reiterate about this is the furthest, and I want to repeat, the furthest human beings have gone in space since Apollo. We're going to get into how far that is in a moment, on how far the moon is away from the Earth, according to the experts in modern science. I can't check it on it. I can't get out my measuring tape or take a cruise, or I don't know how to measure it. I'm just going to claim Jason Bermas ignorance on that. But Polaris Dawn, number one, this is the first time, the furthest women have ever gone in space. Ever, ever, ever. And these 2 men, and their spacewalk was essentially them kind of stepping out of the capsule right here, just like that, okay? And you can watch that. 870 miles. Not even 900, not 1,000. Not 1,000 miles in the air, okay? All right. So now, that's America. We all know that there was a great space race, okay? Great space race between the United States and Russia back in the day, which was actually started by Sputnik, okay? Old Sputnik. And Sputnik, that was put up into low Earth orbit by the Russians, started ARPA and DARPA, okay? The Advanced Research Project Agency, which would later spawn NASA, all of it. Like this is the birth of that. I need people to understand that. So Russia's kicking our arse in that space race prior to Apollo. Gemini, we almost catch up, but I mean, they were holding all the records. So I'm going to ask you, how far have the Russians got? Now, here's what's really interesting, and it plays into narrative management. And remember, Google and NASA, and we're going to do that one live, have partnered in artificial intelligence and quantum computing. All right? So they're part of NASA's actually part of the narrative management, okay? Because they're part of Google. There's a symbiosis there like no other. So we're going to show you what the Google answer to my question was in a moment. And then I'm going to show you how hard it is to get that answer. But we're going to do it live.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Okay. So here it is. Quantum supremacy. This is 6 years ago. It's kind of gone dark. They're not bragging as much for some reason. But again, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, that they are embedded together. They have centers together that work in symbiosis. So let's look. So when I asked the Polaris Dawn question, right, Polaris Dawn distance. Pretty easy, right? I get that. Furthest Russia has been in space. You notice it didn't want to tell me this at all? Okay, let's take a look. Doesn't tell me. Doesn't want to tell me for some reasons, right? Instead, it tries to change the question to how long a Russia thing. And it says, although Russian mission didn't do it, Apollo 13 went 248,000 miles. Okay? You get it? Right? So still not there. So then I have to go here to DuckDuckGo. Nope. Doesn't want to give me again, doesn't, humans in space, doesn't want to answer my question. So I actually have to ask Grok. And I'm not in love with that, but we ask Grok. And it is actually, again, let's see, is what? Vladimir, let's see, aboard the Mir space station, 250 miles. That's not 250,000, by the way. Okay, 400 kilometers. See, and by the way, you notice that they tried to disguise it right in the very beginning. It does look like it's 250,000 like that. No. It's 250. So it's 1/100th. 1/100th. And, there's Sputnik. Sputnik was unmanned. It went 359 miles into the air. There's plenty of unmanned stuff out there. Here's the Mir. Here's the Tianyong, the Chinese one. And then here's the ISS at 254 miles. So they're telling you, okay? They're telling you human beings are about to go literally 1,000 times more than that and then come back. Almost 500,000 miles. And that's, right now they're saying it's just going to go around. By the way, they said that last year. Again, to speak to the cartoon level nature of this, and it must be spoken to the cartoon level nature of this, they sent Snoopy from Peanuts. And I'm still skeptical that the rocket even did this. I mean, how do I check their work? But they sent Snoopy on an unmanned flight for Artemis in a custom spacesuit around the moon last year. And again, it sounds ridiculous. Yes, Snoopy flew on the Artemis 1 mission around the moon as a zero gravity indicator. Snoopy, in a custom-made spacesuit, was a visual cue inside the Orion spacecraft to show when the spacecraft had reached the weightlessness of microgravity. Do you realize how absurd that is? Now, I'm going to say this right here, and then we're going to get to a bunch of the other videos in a moment. Okay, I think this is important. I think there's a good chance that they're lying to us about the moon. I think there's a good chance that the moon is not, a 250,000 miles away, 250,000 miles away. I don't know. I think they also lie to us about space. I mean, you look at the ionosphere, the atmosphere, the stratosphere, right? You have all sorts of different properties and things going on there. We barely have a knowledge, and we certainly don't have all the knowledge of nature right here on this planet and its surroundings. Think about 250,000 miles away. Just, in a very alien atmosphere, using that term pretty liberally. Now, I'm going to just show this. Remember I was talking about the idea of propulsion systems and, other things out there that they're not telling you about by the moon. Okay, now I want to make this extremely clear. I do not endorse everything in this guy's film or everything he said. I think I was on a Union of the Unwanted once with him. Crow 777, and that's Crow with 2 R's. He's got a movie called Shoot the Moon. And essentially, I'm going to play the trailer for Shoot the Moon. I watched Shoot the Moon. And there's something called the lunar wave on there. I'm not even really going to discuss that about the moon. But it sure looks like to me there are some type of craft around the moon that we're not being told about. And I do not think it's aliens. Okay? As many of you know that have watched my work, the alien stuff, is, to me, Hoax City, USA. So you can watch this trailer right here if you'd like. It's Shoot the Moon, the official trailer. Let's do it together.
I purchased my first telescope in the mid-90s, high-tech for the time, to be sure. I went into debt like I'd never gone into debt for anything but a car at the time to do it. That single act in my life led me in a path that has changed everything.
Now, I'm just going to say that the videos you saw right there, again, I don't want to play more than the trailer because, he does charge for this and I want to respect his work. The videos he actually shows outside of are much more convincing than even those. If it was just those videos, I would remain skeptical. But to me, there's several videos in that movie that are extremely compelling. Now, let's take it a step further. Here's Dennis Bushnell of NASA. And we're going to get into this aspect of it big time right now. Big time, pig time, everybody. Talking about some of the devices that you might have seen on the surface of the moon right there, or certain types of satellites and weapon systems in space.
Is the Russian satellites that are moving in unknown and unusual paths. In other words, satellites are no longer just satellites, but now they are moving around in unknown and unexplained patterns. Can you comment on that and the evolution you see of satellites with that similar technology?
And the second one is the Russians apparently have satellites up there that I'll describe. They're moving in strange ways, and there may not be normal satellites, maybe doing something different. So what's that all about?
Look at that. Do you see that big smile? Now listen what he says. As soon as he started getting, and by the way, the Russians and the head of their space department has openly talked about their weapon systems in space, everybody.
No comment.
Oh, come on now.
No.
Killer satellites? Are they? No. Okay. All right. Sorry, Ty. One
No,
for
no.
two.
What he didn't tell you is I'm the NASA rep to the National Intelligence Council.
I'm the NASA rep to the National Intelligence Council. Now, he also laid out this document just prior to 9/11, Future Strategic Issues in Warfare, circa 2025, that really just lays out where we are right now. The bots, Borgs, and humans welcome you to 2025. We're here. You're seeing the humanoid robots. We've been covering them. I mean, we're literally here. This document is huge. And now we are, and look at all the different agencies that help put this together. National Reconnaissance Office, Australian Defense Department, CIA, FBI, Office of Naval Intelligence. Just keep going down and down and down and down all the way through. Okay? Based upon existing data, trends, analysis, and technologies. Nothing here was pixie dust, everybody. And the thing is that what we're going into right now is we are moving from the IT era out of that altogether. We're in the bio-nano era, and they want to move us into the virtual era. And although I am extremely skeptical that we have the technology to put human beings on the moon or Mars or any of that, okay, especially for a substantial amount of time and put a base there in the whole Johnny nonsense realm, sure could fake it. Sure could fake it with VR. Sure could fake it with AI. Make it look really real. I mean, really, really real. And perhaps even the technology of holograms, etc., mixed reality, all sorts of good stuff. Now, what I'm going to do here is show you the Mars argument and how ridiculous. Again, Mars, do you think 250,000 miles away is a lot? Mars, I mean, guys, rockets still explode, okay? The vast majority of the rockets going up, the Falcon 9s for SpaceX, are launching what? They're launching the Musk product there, which is being utilized in Ukraine, Starlink, as their communications and weapon systems to hook into the drones. Okay, so it's a tool of warfare. Okay. And then you have the Blackjack program, which is the DARPA classified version. And then you have Musk in a contract to build the next spy satellite program. Okay? And here we have a NASA official back in 2016 talking about Mars. And you notice they did talk, the unmanned stuff with Duffy, and, that's how they're going to put all the equipment on there. Well, here, you have this individual from NASA talking about robots being the first on Mars. And then I'm going to show you the virtual Mars nonsense from the WEF, okay, the World Economic Forum.
You've got to be thinking 30, 40, 50 years out. And Andy is absolutely right. And I tell people all the time, the very first things on the surface of Mars are going to be robots. Right. Think about what we do for American forces today around the world. We don't send soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines often into a very hot area first. We try to get in and make the environment safe for them using
Usually
robots
we
or whatever.
Send missiles in
yeah,
first.
but we're actually, I imagine there's going to be a fleet of robots, maybe humanoid. They don't have to look like humans. They're going to establish the habitat. They're going to go in because with 3D printing, we can put a fleet of robots on the surface of Mars. We may find, based on what we know about the radiation environment, that we want to go underground rather than, have huts on the surface that get blown away in the wind that doesn't exist. But that was a critical part. I tell my wife, it's a movie, okay? Very, very important part. But it may be that robots dig under, go subterranean and establish the habitat. Anybody ever do, build houses for charitable reasons? You don't go there, and there are no 2x4s on the lot. There are prefab structures, so you get eaves and walls, and that's what we're going to do on Mars. But we're going to print it, I think.
Also,
so again, I think human beings, fairy tales and unicorns. He's talking about robots. we're going to take it a step further with Bushnell here talking about virtual Mars. And almost the same thing, only sending nanobots to survey Mars. You know, all this well before they send people. And then, hey, why really send people when it's going to be so much cheaper to virtually send people to Mars?
And you were talking about robot exploration, and I'd mentioned Ray Kurzweil to you, and you'd said that he'd spoken at NASA. And to me, the way that you described robots almost as kind of like the children of mankind really stuck with me, and it put what we're doing on Mars right now in a new perspective for me.
Well, that quote, robots being the children of mankind, is actually from Hans Moravec from Carnegie Mellon. He has various books on this. Robot is one of them from the early OOs, as I remember. And the idea is that we are currently becoming cyborgs at a very fast rate. The IBM Blue Brain project, which is nanosectioning the neocortex and replicating it in silicon, has made such good progress that they are claiming in 12 to 15 years they will be able to market a biomimetic human-level machine intelligence. The nano-functionalization of robots is continuing apace very rapidly. So there's no reason why in the 10, 20 year, 15 to 25 year out, that exploration can't be done very well with robots at a cost which has been estimated at about 1/1000th that of sending humans. So one way to do this exploration of Mars and so forth is three ways. Three stages. One is to send the nanorobots and instrument the planet and send back the data. And the Brits demonstrated 5 senses virtual reality, haptic, taste, touch, smell, sight, and sound recently. So everyone could explore Mars anytime they wanted to at 1/1000th the cost of sending people.
See how that works? They're not sending any to Mars, okay? I mean, let's continue into that document just for a minute. You see, describing it, when they say virtual, they say robotization of IT, bio, nano industry, and agriculture. Just everything. Everything. And you look at this virtual reality, holographic, immersive, ubiquitous comms. He's going to talk about comms inside of you. That you notice that he talked about humans becoming cyborgs in the same breath? I mean, if they've got right ability, even if you fight the narrative with all your humanity, will you be able to fight the narrative of what you may or may not be seeing? Okay? Now, I want to play this right here because this is showing the globalization of this and showing this Mars Johnny nonsense, because I don't believe that if they fake it, it'll be 100%, deep fake or AI. I think that there will be parts of humans faking it. I think they've faked things in the past. I think that people are right to be skeptical of NASA, but I don't think that everything is fake. I think the ISS exists. I just showed you the video for Shoot the Moon, but this is literally what they have on the books with the World Economic Forum. See, NASA's looking for volunteers to practice living on the moon. Oh. So they're going to be in a Mars simulation, you see, at the Space Center. So again, they're going to have people virtually live in Mars in simulations so they can figure out, just NASA is so cartoon. Oh, there's simulated spacewalks. And they're going to carry out scientific research not on Mars. Again, folks, you look at this and you see a theme with these things. You got to have two professional years. I should look into this because I've been reporting on this for years and years and years. I wonder if this has already taken place. They're going to help prepare our way for a human mission to Mars through simulations. Isn't that lovely? They're the good people of the World Economic Forum. And don't worry, it's not just building nuclear facilities on the moon. We're going to, in the 2030s, we're totally going to Mars. So look, here's the deal. I want to play this video of Bushnell really hammering home what the end goal is. And then we're going to play, we'll play the beginning right before that part with the killer satellites where he tells you how many brain chips are already in people. And then we're going to go all the way back to 2007 with Bushnell and really where he lays out a lot of the plan that we just saw in that NASA Future Strategic Warfare document. So here he is just letting the cat out of the bag that, the plan is humanity ends.
There will be essentially no jobs the machines cannot do. We currently have creative software that are doing ideation just as good or better than humans now. The creative jobs will be the last ones to go, but I have not been able to discern any jobs the machines cannot do as machine intelligence and all the rest of the autonomous robotics develops. So now we're to your question, okay, what do you do with these people? We humans are now converting ourselves into cyborgs. We now have artificial retinas, artificial hearts, we have brain chips. DARPA's working on brain chips for super soldiers. We can have a high bandwidth COM port built in, so we don't have to use the sensors and their very limited bandwidth. And eventually this all ends up with uploading into the machines, and instead of us versus them, humans versus the machines, we become them.
We become them. We're never uploading into the machines. So this is that same conference in 2018. You heard about those COM ports. He's going to let you know how many they'd already put into human beings now 7 years ago. 7 years ago. At least, and this is what they were telling us. Again, out of the sides of their mouth, okay? But this is where the technology was 7 years ago.
Humans are now becoming cyborgs. We have cochlear implants to hear, artificial retinas to see, artificial hearts to live, artificial limbs to move, artificial organs to functions, and brain chips. There's a couple 100,000 people wandering around with brain chips now to fix congenitally defective brains and increasingly to fix memory and other things. DARPA's working on brain chips for super soldiers. And people are now working, thanks to Musk and other people, funding direct machine-brain communications. It's not us versus them, us versus the machines. We're merging. And this is the human evolution of the humans. There is no more natural evolution of anything.
So, got it. 200,000 people with brain chips 7 years ago. And all of evolution, biological evolution, is over because a select few scientific technocrats and their predator class overlords have decided that. Okay, cool. Awesome. Feel great about that. I feel great about that. So now I'm going to go to the Bushnell Supercut from 2011, where he talks about code words, sustainability, productivity improvement. He talks about back then actually putting brain chips in 10,000 people. So in a 7-year period, they had 20 times the brain chips, just pointing that out. And then also, instigating population control. Whatever that means. Isn't that lovely? Instigating population control. People at NASA are really good people. Here we go.
No-brainer. The ecosystem appears to be crashing. Freshwater shortages, you people know that, that's why you're here.
Species extinctions, the emergence of fragile human-engendered monoculture biomes. There's the climate change stuff, pollution of all manner, deforestation, loss of topsoil and wildlife habitat. The humans are practicing anti-terraforming, where terraforming is what you do to make the ecosystem more salubrious for humans. In fact, prevention of collapse of the ecosystem has now become the overwhelming issue.
Now, and what I want people to notice here is that this is a conference. They're talking about freshwater shortages. And what's happening right now? Freshwater shortages. But why is it happening? Because they're using them for AI data centers. And if they start building these massive AI data centers everywhere, not just to cool the hardware that is going extremely hot, but now they're also going to build these mini nuclear facilities and sites on them that are, of course, are going to need water for the fission process. So the AI and all the water they need, but all of a sudden there's going to be water shortages for us, huh? Weird.
Current food production is based on freshwater plants, i.e. glycophytes. We're running out of fresh water, as you know. The code word is sustainability. The crashing of the ecosystem is due to population growth and the way we're now living, our standard of living. The estimates vary between 30 and 50% of a planet that we're currently short to sustain the standard of living and the current population, much less the population growth. As the Asians and their billions come up as they are at 9 to 11% growth rate to Western standards of living, we're going to be short 3 more planets, and they're not readily available. This will result in peak everything. This will result in standards of living plunging. There's a partial solution to this, and that is to switch to halophyte salt plants grown on wastelands and deserts using saline salt water. 22 nations are doing this. This literally solves, as I'll get into, land, water, food, which is...
Let's just stop for a second. So listen to what he just said. First of all, he tells you that your standard of living is going to plummet and that sustainability is the code word. And we've all just heard about sustainability for the last decade and a half, 100%, at an accelerated level. Then he also tells you that some of this can be mitigated or solved with saline water, in other words, salt water, in the deserts, okay? And even with those halophytes, and you look at algae production as well, you can make fuel out of that. Has any of that happened on a mass level? Have they used the technology to empower humanity? Have you even heard any of that? Nope. Nope.
Halophytes. You can grow just on a goodly portion of the Sahara sufficient biomass to replace all the fossil carbon fuels, to provide petrochemical feedstock for all the plastics anybody wants, and grow enough food so everybody gets to eat, and return some of the 68 to 70% of the fresh water that's now used for conventional agriculture, as advertised, solves land, water, food, energy, and climate. So this is Malthus 101.
Oh, Malthus 101. So isn't that weird that he puts that in? If you don't know what Malthusianism is, it's the cost of a life. What is a life worth? Picking winners and losers within the human species. Very open about that. It's very eugenics-based.
These innate ecosystem restrictions and shortfalls will necessarily shift world econometrics from a growth mantra to one of sustainability, with possible population control instigated along the way.
Right there. So the code word is sustainability. And along those lines of that sustainability, they will instigate, we might just instigate population control along the way. Now, the document actually frames it a little bit differently. We're gonna do it live again, and we're gonna type in population because I think it's population stabilization is what they use. Oh, I spelled population wrong. There we go. So here we go. We'll go right to the document. Here's where they talk about population growth. You know, I don't need your powerful search tools. Thank you. But there it is. Stabilization of the world population. So he's telling you there, right? By the way, they're talking about the end of the haves and the have-nots because there will be only, if these people get their way, a predator class at the top. This idea of total, equalization is farcical. Farcical. Okay? They always try to sell you on it, just like he was trying to sell you on the solutions that never happen. But then they tell you about the solutions that they're going to put into place, like world population control or stabilization of the world population. And everybody's just like, okay. I mean, you heard everybody laughing when he was saying there wasn't enough planets and that your standard of living was going to plummet. That's hilarious.
It changes everything.
Let's bring it back. He's telling you right there, we may instigate world population control that changes everything. Do you think human beings, general populaces, societies would vote for that? Would get behind that? Or does that have to be behind closed doors? Does that have to remain subversive?
From a growth mantra to one of sustainability, with possible population control instigated along the way that changes everything.
And by the way, just to show you how much this is in that document, it says it altered political military outlooks worldwide, i.e. changes everything. Changes everything. Changes everything.
After the recent economic burp, people want to see the growth business reinstituted. It's not
happening.
The final last resort solution is instead of raising the bridge, we lower the river. Genomically modify the biota, including us humans, to take the heat. We have ongoing studies of extremophiles, biologics in deep ocean vents and deserts and the Yellowstone pools, plus the ongoing biorevolutions, genomics and synthetic biology that proffers the very real possibility of designer life forms, including humanoids, capable of thriving in whatever mess we make of the planet.
So right there, I mean, he's telling you, yeah, no, we're going to experiment on the human species, and maybe we're going to alter them. Again, are you going to vote for that? You think when we're talking about bio-nanotech, that we're getting to say? The taxpayers? The serf class?
Okay.
And again, everybody's chuckling. It's hilarious to these people.
The other time scale here is that we have looked at what it would take to terraform Mars, and it would take about 120 years. There's enough water under the poles on Mars, under the frozen CO2, to put an ocean on Mars. A reasonable depth ocean. Not that deep, but reasonable depth. And so we could then put stuff in this ocean that grows and produces oxygen, and so we could make a breathable atmosphere. We still wouldn't have the Van Allen belts to protect us from the radiation, but at least we would have some kind of an atmosphere to protect us from some part of the radiation.
The Van Allen belts, by the way, they, with that Polaris Dawn, it was the first time since Apollo that human beings, they didn't go past and through all the Van Allen belts, but they went into the Van Allen belts. But again, the Van Allen belts are supposed to be protection from radiation. That's a whole nother argument when you're talking about the Apollo missions. Just want to throw that out there because it was mentioned by Bushnell.
But that's only one planet. We're going to need 3, okay, within 40 or 50 years, and it would take 120 years to terraform Mars ourselves up. In terms of employment, just as an example, we are in a jobless economic recovery. There's about 7 million jobs missing. Some of them were globalized and offshore, about a third. The rest of them are gone. The code word is productivity improvement, which is a code word for ever better automation and robotization.
You notice there's all these code words? Productivity improvement means your job's gone. Automation and robotization. Do you get it? Sustainability is a code word. Yeah, these people, code words. What do they use code words for? To communicate with other people that know the codes.
If you look at the way the robots are going, human-level machine intelligence from the IBM Blue Brain Project is now about 10 to 15 years out. Via biomimetics, where they've nanosectioned the neocortex and they're replicating it in silicon, okay? And they're having great success in all of this. So this is not soft computing, this is via biomimetics. We have looked 20, 30 years out with the way robotics and automation and machine intelligence is going at what jobs the machines cannot do. The answer is none. We thought we need human touch labor in nursing homes for a while, but the Japanese 2 years ago put robots in nursing homes, and patients like them much better than the humans.
You know how funny that was to those people? You know, that's hilarious. Hey, during the COVID 1984 nightmare, why don't you look up how many of the robots they put in as nurses and how they're moving in that direction to automation and robotization in probably one of the most dangerous places. Why is that? Look, as bad as human beings are and how bad medical malpractice really is in this country and around the world, at least someone in there is a human being and you can reach out to their humanity. Robots are programmed to do things.
The machines are creating wealth within the strictures of the ecosystem capability. The machines are reducing costs, okay, producing wealth, but the humans increasingly can't compete. I have a friend, Steve Thaler, who has developed an imagination machine, okay, which is a neural net which he trains and deprives of all rational input, and this neural net sits there and dreams like people dream, producing new ideas 24/7, 365 on milliwatts, and he has a critic neural net sitting in the weeds recording all of these new ideas and checking them out for various problems and metrics. This thing has produced better toothpaste for Palmolive, it has produced better warheads for the Air Force, and it produces far more ideas, far faster and cheaper than buildings full of people, okay? So, along with all of the other jobs which the machines are, and you know, I've got charts on this, okay? I have tracked which jobs, which have gone, which ones have come in. There's a magnificent book on this called by Martin Ford. It's called Lights in the Tunnel. Okay? And if you can sleep well after reading that book, okay, then you're not quite as sensitive as maybe I thought you were. I mean, you know, what people will do all day is not clear. What we're doing with these, and this is only one of the 7, okay, is that the machines are taking the jobs, and the humans increasingly can't compete. We're also becoming cyborgs, okay? We have cochlear implants, artificial retinas, artificial hearts, direct brain to prosthetic limb communication, and brain chips. We put brain chips into about 10,000 people. It affects congenitally defective brains. DARPA is working on brain chips for super soldiers. 15, 20 years out, if you don't have the latest chip in, you can't compete, particularly with the machines. Okay? So we are merging with the machines. Okay? There's some really massive effects of the IT, bio, nano, quantum energetics tech revolutions that are now on a double exponential.
On a double exponential. And again, that's almost 15 years old. Thaler, one of the pioneers in those language models and artificial intelligence. Folks, we didn't even get 100 thumbs up. Can we do that now? Can we get 100 thumbs up? If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Ring that bell for notifications. And remember, I cannot do it without you guys. You know, I got hit up about this possible show on Saturday. We'll see what happens. If it does happen, I suppose I will talk about it. But, you know, they didn't even want to cover my cost to go there. So even if I do get accepted, I don't even know if I'm going because it is tough in this independent media world. Please try and help make it a little easier if you can. I want to thank everybody who has donated $5, $10, $15. Big donors. Once again, could not do it without you. There are other links down below, including PayPal, that you can donate to. And remember, I mean, we talk about conservatives or liberals here today talk about MAGA or the Republicans or the Democrats. Nope. We talked about the reality of technologies and where we're going in the future, because it is not about left or right. It is always about right and wrong. I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you all on the flip side.